Alright guys, welcome back to another video with the 240. For those that seen the last video, that is exactly how we ended up here at this point where I'm recording this one. So definitely watch the last one. I finally got the idle sorted on this thing to the point where it idles normally. It's not acting like an air leak or anything like that. It turned out to just be the throttle plate adjusted to open, which is something I tend to do a lot, just like with the timing issue. With the no start issue, I tend to go straight to the complex stuff, and it turned out to be something simple. So with the timing, it was just flipped 180 degrees, and with the idle situation, it was just throttle plate to open. But after I got the idle adjusted to the point where it's at just under 1,000 RPM, we got a new sound, which sounded like rod knock. Now with this car, I have torn down the engine, but not a complete tear down. Like when I got it, I put in new gaskets, new water pump, new oil pump, all that stuff. And the farthest that I went into the engine was was the head gasket itself, because it has ARP head studs, and it has a I can't remember which one I think it was. I want to say it was cosmetic, but I'm not 100% sure. But it is an aftermarket head gasket. I'll just pop that in there so I could, once I go back and look. But yeah, aftermarket head gasket, ARP head studs. So I looked at the head. I did not check the pistons and the bearings and stuff like that. Like, it wasn't a super complete teardown. And I also didn't do anything with the head itself. So it's still stock springs, retainers, stock lifters, and all that stuff. The only thing done to the head is paint, really. Well, that's about it. So there's a couple things that I'm trying to weed out with this, because if it is rod knock, then that kind of ruins my plans for the year, where I thought this car was going to be on the road and driving and everything good come spring. But if it's rod knock, honestly, that might push this build back a year or so, because I'd have to pull out the engine, completely disassemble it all the way down to the rods, replace the bearings if it spun one, and check everything else. And at that point, yeah, it might be another year or so, because I don't have the money, and I also don't really have the space to pull an engine in this garage unless I move some stuff around. So there's that too. Hopefully it's not. I've been doing some research and listening to a couple people that I asked about it. Some people were saying that it sounds like it's coming from the top end and not the bottom end. That would be a lifesaver. If it is a top end noise, it's still going to be a nuisance, but at least I don't have to go pulling the entire engine swap after I finally got to this point. And so there's a couple things that I'm thinking about. Well, first off, I'm gonna narrow it down between the top end and the bottom end. I'm gonna just take this pipe and listen to it, see if the noise is more dominant at the top or in the block. And second, I'm gonna check the oil, see if we got some shavings, see if it looks all pretty and stuff like that. That'll be another telltale sign that it's a bottom end thing. And if that is not the case, and it's a top end thing, first thing is, I was told that these make that type of noise when there's not enough oil getting to those lifters. So there's that. Second thing, if the lifters are missing a shim, it'll make that noise. But like I said, I didn't tear anything down in the head, so they shouldn't be. It should all still be OEM. And then lastly, which is the one that I think is most common, is the spark plug seating. This cylinder right here, cylinder 6, that spark plug gives me a problem from time to time. And so what I think is happening with this one, and somebody had confirmed it a little bit, was if the spark plug is not fully seated when the car is running, it'll bounce around a little bit and it'll make that exact noise too. And sometimes cylinder 6 spark plug will not go all the way down. I think that it's like the threads may be stripped in the head, which sucks, but I think that may be the issue. So if it's not a bottom end knock, if the oil is cool, if it doesn't need to just warm up, and if it actually is, if it passes all that stuff, Then I'm gonna deactivate cylinder 6 and see if it goes away. And if it does, then it's probably the spark plug thing. I'll also get some smoke coming from that area, which is another thing that makes me think that that spark plug is not seated properly, because it's exhaust smoke coming through and it's not coming from the downpipe, even though the downpipe is like open. It's coming from like actually that area of the cylinder. So first things first is get this thing started, let it idle, and see if I can locate whether it's top or bottom. If it turns out to be a bottom end knock, well, this will be a pretty short video because there ain't much that I can do about that right now. That does not look good. That, I'm pretty sure, is oil coming from the outlet of the turbo. I don't know about that at all. Let's see. I don't know, man. Let's try to... I'm really concerned about that. Let's try to do this, because I think it's this one. Alright, so what I did was I just unplugged cylinder 6, because that's the one I think that it is, if it's that spark plug thing. And I'm going to try to see if that's somehow causing it not to start. After this couple of attempts, I'm going to just check the oil. This might be a lost cause. And it was idling yesterday. But that's what concerns me right there. I think that's oil. I hope that that isn't. That means that we got some food for thought. I went to check the oil. I don't know if you guys can see that. Actually, there we go. Yeah, that ain't showing that it's got much oil in it, if any. And the crazy thing is, I know I put in oil. So either we need to get a lot more oil, or we got a big oil leak. So if it's running this without oil, shit, I ain't willing to have it running like that. That might be it right there. So I see if I could just get some oil and come back and try it again. Going to be a wrap for today, just because I no longer hear the fuel pump priming, and there's a chance that this is a temporary setup, but there's a chance that this may be blown, so I'm not 100% sure. I do have a fuse right here I'm about to check, but I know when I disabled it I had took the ground connection off. And when I put it back, I think I touched this top one, which is a power going into the fuel pump. So that may have blown a fuse. I'm gonna have to check, but like I said, I don't hear the fuel pump priming, and as of right now, I don't have a means of changing that. You can hear if I put it into the, there's a key, oh, here it is. If I put it into the on position, you won't hear it. You'll hear the click of the relay though. Maybe, but it doesn't want to start anymore. So I'm gonna check that fuse, but I don't know. I'm just not back. Sure. This is day 2. Back on the car again. So day 1, we kind of left off at a little stalemate. I'm gonna check to see if it's gonna start today. But basically what we got going on back here is the fuel pump is wired to a relay. This is a temporary setup just to make it easy for me to disconnect fuel when I need to for testing purposes. So we got straight battery going off to this wire, which is connected to the fuse. I checked that fuse last night. You can see it there, it's still good. So that fuse didn't blow. So that's straight B plus going into the relay. And then this other red wire up top is B plus going out of the relay when it closes and into the factory power wire for the fuel pump. This one is the ground wire. This other one is the switch. So when I put the key in, this goes into the factory harness. So it works just like normal. This is the input to tell the fuel pump to come on, ground, and all that stuff. Last night, when I was working on it, I accidentally touched this black ground wire to the power wire going out of the relay. So it didn't pop the fuse, but I think I might have shorted the fuel pump itself. And if that is the case, then we'll just call it here and work on getting this car sent to a shop. It's not that big of a deal, but it's cold. I don't have a proper garage heater, and I'm not trying to be sitting in the trunk trying to dig through some fuel and pop out the fuel pump, because I do still have the original fuel pump that was in this car, which is actually a better Walbro than the one that I put in it, because I thought that it was going to be a stock fuel pump, but hey, surprise, it was a different Walbro. So there's that. If it does start, I'm going to pull injectors instead of spark plugs across all cylinders to see if the knock goes away, because pulling the spark will just flood the cylinder, and I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about the knock and the condensation. So I'll pull the injectors, see if that makes it go away. If that doesn't, then I'll pull off the valve covers and see if I can look through there, take some pictures, some videos, find any type of wear or anything like that, and then we'll call it. So that's the plan for today. First things first is to get the car started. That way I can do the injector test, and that'll be that. So fuel pump is done. This is the power wire going into the fuel pump factory harness. Fuel pump is already grounded through the factory harness. This is just the ground for the relay. So if I give it the straight V plus, nothing happens, and you would hear it. Most people that follow me probably know what a Walbro sounds like. You can definitely hear that, and yeah, that's not it's not activated. So fuel pump ain't working. That pretty much calls it right there. As far as checking the injectors and stuff, I'm still gonna take off the valve covers just to check, because at this point I can't test the injectors, and the only other way to know about this stuff is the valve covers themselves. So I might do that. Alright, as you can see, the snow is starting to come down, and everything is going in. That last clip saw me take off this one. I'll go ahead and hop on a flap if it'll let me. There we go. So this is the inside of the other valve cover. Not showing too much of anything on that one either. And I went ahead and took a look here. Same thing, just like the first one. I'm not seeing too much of anything as far as like things out of place or any weird areas of wear and all that stuff. Also got one in the back if I could get it on camera. There we go. Not showing too much of anything else in there. If I go underneath, looks good. Looks good. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I also turned it over by hand when I cranked it. Put the on the crank. Okay, I'm gonna switch hands for it. But yeah, I was just turning it over by hand to see if I could hear anything, and I wasn't getting nothing. So as you can hear and see, this is all operating normal. So yeah, I'm pretty stumped here, guys. But since the fuel pump is out, there's nothing else I could do as far as testing. So I'm gonna just put the valve covers back on and call it. And we'll just pick up on this whenever I get some leads. Well, I got it back together. I'm gonna leave the strut bar off for the time being. But yeah, we're gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna send the pictures and videos that I took to the shop that I'm probably gonna end up taking the car to get finished. See what they say about it, and we'll go from there. But until then, I just say like, comment, subscribe, follow the build. Until next time.